much.
Yeah,
Like most of our opportunities. We're really bad at catching them.
Yeah, that's kind of my life in general.
so welcome to Quantum Beer Break.
BeerThralls.
We're here to tell you about all the opportunities that we have missed in our lives so that you don't make the same mistakes.
Part 1. It's going to be an infinite part
this
series.
is going to be a long series.
Good
Hi,
thing we got alcohol.
I'm James. I'm drinking a Coke and rum.
Now, James, since you once again have the stein of Coke and rum, would you like to clarify how much Coke and how much rum?
It is a one of the plastic bottles, like one of the plastic bottles of Coke.
Oh, was it rum?
Technically-
It looked like a Long Island iced tea.
Technically, it's Diet Coke, and then it's like maybe it's a shot of rum.
One shot for all of that Coke?
Yeah.
It's rum flavored.
I can't actually drink a lot anymore. Like apparently I have my tolerance got like really good in college, and then like after college I was like just stayed there, and then I hit like 30 and I was just like, okay, give up and just.
But
I hit 30 and mine has just gotten better and better, or I'm becoming more of an alcoholic. I'm
it's
not
because
sure.
you're training.
Oh, that's true. I'm an accountant.
For what? Anyway, this is Jacob. Today I have the last of my stock of Pumpkin by Southern Tier. It's good. Go get some.
Don't worry. On Friday, when you come for our Pathfinder game, you'll be getting Warlock.
Don't tempt me. Warlock is somehow slightly better than Pumpkin.
Yeah, it's higher alcohol content.
I don't think he was tempted. I don't think he was tempting. I think he was just telling you.
Well, so Pumpkin is an Imperial Pumpkin Ale, and Warlock is like double Imperial. I forget. It's Pumpkin.
It's the darker Pumpkin with the higher alcohol content.
Gotcha. I think I just remember there being Imperial on the label somewhere for Warlock, so it's the Imperial Pumpkin Ale, like Imperial's in just bold font. I feel like we have a guest today.
Hey Matt, who are you?
Hi, I'm Matt. I'm drinking Jim Beam because it's all I have in the house.
It's a good start.
Yeah. What are we talking about today?
Today we're going to talk about our promised next part in the Aetherium role-playing game character creation series, Hacking and Glitch.
Which has nothing to do with character creation.
But it's a big part of, do you want to do these things with characters? And we promised we'd do it.
Yes.
If you haven't seen our first parts of the series, in part 1, we talked about allocating your stats and what they do in the Aetherium role-playing game. And in part 2, we talked about programs and how to create programs, choose your programs,
and never
Bye,
mind.
Jake.
Bye, Jake. So we'll continue on while Jake is reconnecting.
Meat sprays. I've got the shiniest meat tricycle.
And then I'm just like, I'm crashing. Did you guys hear that?
Oh no, we were like, you were like, blah blah blah, poof, just disappeared.
Bye, Jake.
So as part of the series, while Jake reconnects his video, as part of the series, you will look down below, and you will see that these are chapter markings. So if you're like, man, I know how to do all this stuff, but I really just want to learn how to do programs, but I just want to learn how to do modifications, jump over to the programs, look below, pass your mouse over it, and you'll see modifications. So we've been putting chapter markings in there so you can actually just jump to the section you want.
We finally got fancy.
We got fancy.
Ooh. I think YouTube got API. I think YouTube's API got fancier too, because I've seen the chapter mods come up for other videos recently.
Oh, they're easy to do too. Yeah. Basically, a Pylon's an AI that is. We're going to go into this in more detail when we go into like the lore section of this game, but it's a lot. Basically, it's an AI that controls the reality around it. So every Pylon has what is called a security level, which is basically how strong that AI is thinking about the reality around it. So like a level 1 is just like, this is just the basics. I'm just controlling everything in the area. A level 2 is just, it's a little more solid, and like a level 4 you'll find in like Axiom Space or in some of the larger bubbles, cities, areas inside the Aetherium. They're very, very, very controlled. And that's what you need to know. Basically, hacking, if you're hacking the world, the security level of the pylon is the target number you have to do to succeed.
– Thank you, DM James.
You're
a good guy.
welcome, player Matt. In the Aetherium role-playing game, your player can hack pretty much anything. They can hack their own weapons, their own enemies' weapons. They can hack the world. They can hack physics. They can hack anything they want to hack. It just requires a test. Some of the things they can do is I want to jump high. So, it's really, I want to get to the top of that building, and I want to get there now. I don't want to climb this fire escape. And that is really scary. And
I found it.
They can literally hack reality to say they jump higher. There is consequences. Think of it as the world is pushing back on you while you're doing this. And it's also very noticeable. So a lot of people, like 99% of the people in the Aetherium, do not have the ability to hack it. Their brain just can't handle it. It's just another world for them. They're walking around. So if they see you running down the street and suddenly you're just bounding across the world, you're going to get attention. It's not something that is done every day. These are things that the well-knowns, Mistrota, the Rezex, like the big name characters are known to be able to do this. Like just normal people like running around are not supposed to be able to do this.
Anyway, so what you want to do when you start hacking is you want to declare your intent. You want to declare what about the world you want to change. This could be something about the environment. You could be trying to modify one of your own programs, or you could even be trying to modify someone else's programs. Then what you want to do then is gather some 12-sided Aetherium dice. These are custom dice that they make for the game, but there is a conversion chart for a normal D12 on your character sheet if you're using one of the official character sheets. So you grab a number of these 12-sided dice up to your hacking stat.
Up to.
We'll cover why up to is important. Once you decide what dice you're going to throw, you roll. As James said, you are looking for a number of successes equal to or greater than the sort of current security level if you're trying to affect the environment, or your opponent's defense if you're trying to target someone's programs.
If you're targeting your own program.
So there's a difference. If you're targeting your own iconic program, you can make it difficulty 0. And if you're targeting a Pylon program, something you're leasing from the local Pylon, then it's going to be equal to the Pylon's difficulty as if you're affecting the environment.
If your difficulty is 0, do you need to roll dice?
I was just about to ask that.
We'll come back to that in a second because that's a very risk-reward proposition.
That's a. I wanted to lead in with that question so everyone goes, wait, if difficulty is 0, how do I have to roll dice?
No, difficulty 0 is always that's a trap.
It kind of is.
So what that means is the success on these 12-sided dice, if you're using, we're going to be referring to symbols on the Aetherium dice. So you're looking for the little etched gear around the symbol, which is called a disruption. There are 4 disruptions on any given die. Each type of symbol has at least one side that has a disruption. So each die gives you roughly a 1 in 4. Sorry, not a 1 in 4, but a 4 sides out of a D12 is roughly a 1 in 3 chance of getting a success.
Exactly a 1 in 3.
Thank you, accountant.
You're welcome.
Glad we could get our resident math expert to confirm my math was right. No, but that essentially, if you're looking for the probabilities of how many dice do I need to throw, like for example, say you're a starting character, you're going to have 3 hacking as your stat. By default for starting characters, you can't go any lower than that. So if you're in a relatively podunk area, just not in like a high security area, then your defense is likely going to be 1. So how many dice should I throw? Probably all 3 if you want to guarantee getting that hit. Now what we've talked a few times, why would you not want to roll extra? If you get more successes than what you needed for hacking, and this is the only skill check in the game that does this, So it's relatively easy to remember this happens. You will take 1 sync damage for every success past what you needed when hacking.
The world pushes back on you.
Yes, that is the reality of the Aetherium going, hey, you're pushing too hard. Stop it. We're going to disrupt your connection. Log out. Get out. You just got bounced. So I hacked too hard trying to make those images appear earlier, so my connection rejected me.
Mm-hmm.
Just like everyone does.
We love you.
Do we? Oh yeah, we totally do.
I only wish that my glasses made my eyes look pure Coke bottle, like the Trailer Park Boys meme.
Just anime style. Just.
Have you seen that meme of the? Never mind. I'm getting distracted.
Yeah.
So what actually happens with your hacking once you're successful is going to depend on what symbols you rolled. So we're going to go through those now. The first most common symbol is switches. James, what does a switch look like?
It actually looks like a switch. In engineering, it's a switch. It's a circle with a line top.
So say you're an accountant and you're not from an engineering or a computer science background. What does a switch look like?
It looks like
normally looks like this white square with a little doodad in the center.
It's a circle with a line with a little line that kind of bisects the top.
Nice. Good job. For every switch you roll, you can remove elements from programs. Each switch will disable a modification of complexity 3 or less. So essentially, with hacking, you are affecting mods. So say you're trying to, if your opponent has some big bulky armor blocking your shots, and you're like, you suck, I'm going to delete your armor. So you'll go ahead and hopefully roll some switches, and then you can remove 1 mod from his armor of complexity 3 or less. If it's more than 3 complexity, you can combine the efforts of your switches. So if you get 2 switches, you could remove something between 3 and 6, 4 and 6 complexity. Most mods are going to fall in the 3 or under.
Now, actually, I don't remember this. If it's a base program, can you remove it?
If there are no mods, or if all mods are already disabled, then you can delete the program for the duration of the hack.
Yes. Okay. So, like, literally, if they're just wearing like a level 1 or just a base body armor mod.
Yeah, like
program.
The classic leather coat of D&D fame.
Yes, you can literally just go boop, and it's gone.
You're not Dante. Get rid of that coat.
Is there any range to these?
Can you see them?
Yep, pretty much. That's the range.
Okay. Now, let's say that your intent, which we talked about was really important. What if you weren't trying to remove something? James, do switches do anything for you if you weren't actively trying to remove anything?
Absolutely not. All
right. Hacking's risky. Sometimes you might get successes and still not do anything.
Yeah. I mean, but the thing is, you can English around it. So I want to give myself. I want to be able to jump to the top of that building, and I just rolled switches.
Well, I turned off the gravity mod in order to get to the top.
English.
I really want to see if I can make it look like my screen froze.
No, you just looked intently mad as a DM.
Yeah, we've had some discussion on this one back and forth, and kind of my opinion as a forever DM in other systems is that feels really squirmy, but it also feels really bad as a player to put both, because hacking by default is a 3 CS action in combat, which is your entire turn. So unless you're a hacking specialist, say you're just like an average Joe Schmo who's in a bad situation, and you really need to try this risky operation, and it blows up in your face. A bad situation gets worse. It's not necessarily a great play experience. You could also make the argument that perhaps someone who has no business hacking shouldn't be counting on hacking to solve their problems. They should be getting help from the wizard in the corner who does know how to hack.
Yeah.
So it's the counterbalance. It's one of those things where this is something I would discuss with your tables and rule with your DMs in advance. It's the similar advice I give for anyone who wants to use illusion magic or invisibility in general in 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. You really should have that rules discussion in advance for what exactly that means, so that at the table your DM is not trying to make a decision that could potentially piss people off in the moment.
Yeah, if you especially
DMs,
if your group is not like we're not going to hack a lot, we're not going to do anything like that. you can probably skip the conversation. But if you definitely have a person who's just a dedicated hacker, or you have somebody who's like, I'm going to be hacking all the time, you definitely should.
Yeah, so my recommendation is work with your players, work with your DMs, try to decide, kind of talk about what would be some common things you'd want to hack, and then if you have to make a decision during the session for whether or not some English, if someone can spin the English around on it. General advice I've seen given before that I would also give is try to make a decision at the moment, apply it consistently for that session, and then have the conversation afterwards and change things if needed.
We're gonna have a lot of conversations.
Yes. So the next symbol is chip,
Chips,
which
which
is
looks like a microchip.
It looks like a microchip. It's a square with like lines coming out of it. It looks like if you took a hashtag and just plopped a square on top of it.
It uses two common shapes that most people know, squares and lines.
Yeah. It adds elements to programs.
And to be fair, what's a square but just thousands of lines overlapping each other?
Well, it would
4.
actually be thousands of dots, but
There's 4 lines.
a dot is, or a line is an infinite
you're-
number of dots within a limited
Okay.
space.
Stop it. So, adding elements to programs. What can you do with the chip, Jake?
Pretty much the same thing you could do with a switch, just in reverse, because you're adding instead of subtracting. You can add a mod of complexity 3 or less to any existing program, or you can create an entire program out of thin air, so long as the program, the root of that program, the base chunk, is complexity 3 or less. And since a lot of root programs are complexity 3 or less, most of the things in the book. This is partially why we wanted to discuss hacking after we had discussed programs, because you kind of want to be familiar with how to make customized or break down programs to effectively hack things for you. Where would this come up pretty quickly? I think common examples from the book for why would you be doing this to things. Say there's a bridge is out and you want someone to hack a new bridge or a walkway. Your DM could rule that like a 5-foot section of concrete and rebar and effective weight carrying bridge is 3 complexity.
Mm-hmm.
I think the book even will give some guideline for walls and buildings. How a building is really just the root program of, the 4 pillars that make up the support of the structure, and all of like the 5-foot sections of wall are mods. So it essentially gives you guidelines for you could delete a 5-foot section of wall with a switch while hacking, for example.
Or you could do something like.
Is this also how you would change your weapon to do additional damagey things?
Yes.
It could. Say, for example, that you're out of weapons. You just don't have any weapons, and things are going really poorly. One of the examples the book gives is you could hack yourself a Molotov cocktail. Since you could basically create a quick finesse weapon. You could even give it the ability to apply a virus with a couple of switches. With a couple of chips.
You have to count your ammo? Can you hack more ammo?
There's no ammo in the game.
Okay.
But you can hack yourself some armor-piercing rounds by adding temporarily with a chip the mod for the finesse weapon, which lets you ignore a point of armor.
Or you can do something like, man, he's really far away and he's staying constantly out of my melee reach. I have to do something. Oh, I'm gonna make my sword really big.
Please don't start throwing bankais. That's dumb.
So what you're saying is Fearmonger could change his pointy glove into having an additional disease on it or something of that nature.
Yeah.
It's called from last time we talked.
Fearmonger could just buy himself a needle syringe gun.
Yeah.
Well, no, he already has that on his hand, but I want to change what's inside the syringes.
Yeah, you could just go, the fire is not doing good enough. Put a different virus on it.
Flesh-eating and fiery.
Why not?
Or whatever.
It's your power. So, that is the 2 most common symbols for hacking are switches and chip. Yep.
So could you also use this if it's a switch, and let's say you're a sniper type character and you're at the top of a skyscraper and there are no windows, can you add a window program or delete a wall?
Yes.
Depending on what you got.
Remember English? You can just be like, I need to shoot through this wall. It's now a window.
Yeah. Also fair. Okay, so the remaining symbols that could appear on your Aetherium die, or the remaining numbers that are going to appear in your normal D12, are all about sort of modifying other aspects of the hack. So getting the hack done is in 2 steps. 1, you need enough disruption success symbols. And 2, you need to have the chips or switches to make the change. Shorts, James, what does a short look like?
A lightning bolt.
He's got it. A short extends how long the hack lasts. By default, a hack lasts 1 round per level of the character who created the hack. That's one of the few things which directly scales with your character level. And each short would increase how long that hack lasts beyond that limit.
So you could be like running away from, I'm going to use Axiom, but Nanime. You're running away from a bunch of Nanime anarchists, and you're like, well, let's go ahead and remove this wall. So there's now an archway into this building, and you jump through. You didn't roll any of those shorts, so after a round, it's a wall again. If you want to do something long term, like I'm making myself a gun. You only have it for a round. Well, you just spent 3 of your actions to create this gun, and you only have it for 1 round. But if you had rolled an extra short, well, now you have it for 2 rounds.
So let's say you're a level 5 character and you're doing the same runaway scene. You wanted to remove a wall, but you didn't want it down for 5 rounds because they're right on your butt. Can you stop a hack sooner?
I don't know off the top of my head right now. My assumption would be a hack will last up to 5 rounds, and you can specify how long you want it to last.
It is always up to the max you want, because you can always just be like, I'm not doing this anymore. It's kind of like a concentration spell. You can just be like, nope, not using it. Which is also good because you could do something like you're in a crowd, you kind of subtly make a knife, shank somebody, and at the end of the round, you're just like, what knife? Who shanked this guy?
What a sentence. I subtly make a knife. Let me just get out my whittling kit and make me a shiv. Subtly.
I'm gonna do this with Python.
So the final symbol, however, is the one you don't want to see. The skull, which is a crash.
A crash.
A skull is equivalent to the 12 on a 12-sided die, and I remember this because it is the only symbol of that type on the die.
Yep.
A crash indicates that not only have you been pushed back against to the normal, you, in particular, are starting to glitch out from reckless hacking. What's kind of fun is a skull always has a disruption symbol, since at least one of each symbol on the die has the disruption that means success. So a skull is always an automatic success for completing your hack,
Jake,
but it's going to cost you a glitch.
You just turned green.
So those are the basic symbols for hacking and the things that are going to happen when you hack. So we mentioned glitch. We'll come back to glitch in a second. There is actually one more thing. You can optionally extend how long your hack lasts by gaining 1 glitch per round, up to 5. So that is the last rule for just how to make a hack check. If your hack would cause any harm to another character, say, for example, you delete the floor out from underneath someone, then they get a reaction to respond. So hacking is actually really difficult to use as a direct attack method. Like you can't hack a piano above someone's head like this was a Looney Tunes cartoon. Believe me, I've thought about it. They would get a reaction, which is roughly 1 CS they can spend to move. So they would essentially get their full movement to get out of the way.
So while we're talking
now, if your hack is really big, like if you somehow like deleted an entire platform because you're God, I guess, then yeah, maybe they can't get away.
So while we're talking about that, you need to remember something, and you might. This is where you want to ask your game master, your DM, how the world that he envisions works, because you can run into something. Now, remember, this is just a program. It is. Think of it as like you're playing Call of Duty. there's always the ability in Call of Duty somewhere to just glitch out and say jump over where you're supposed to be, and you just jump into nothingness because the programmers were just like, well, no one's going to do this, so we don't need to draw anything beneath it. Well, in the Aetherium, there's the Aetherium around your reality. So you could do something like, they're chasing us, I'm going to create a hole, and the hole created is there's nothing beneath it but Aetherium. There's nothing but the noise. And suddenly now there's just noise pouring into this reality. That's bad. That is terrifying because noise just kills you. It is deadly.
Think of it like lava.
Tentacle monsters.
Think of it as being dropped inside of a hurricane, inside of a tornado, in the middle of the ocean with nothing on. I think it just broke his brain. Like lava. So the reason this comes up is because in the game that we were having ran at last Spring Fling,
in the before times,
there was a member of the Wardens who was across the room, and my character was like, I got an idea. I'm just going to create a hole beneath him to drop him into it. And the DM looked up, went, okay, you create a hole. And suddenly there's just this column of noise that goes up to the ceiling that you just watch him disintegrate inside of it. And I was like, oh. He's like, oh yeah, and it's starting to spread into your reality. And I was like, yeah, no, we're gonna end that hack. Let's just end that. It's fine. So hole clears up, and now there's just a bunch of noise that's slowly dissipating.
It's time to run now.
Time to go.
Now, if making noise appear or creating sort of hazardous terrain with hacking sounds like fun, it sounds like the thing it'd be neat to do. But the fact that your opponents get to take a 1 CS action before it takes effect sounds lame. There's a program to do that kind of thing, where it's laser focused on doing just that thing, so it doesn't have the flexibility of hacking, but it also doesn't give your opponents as much time to react. So look into that.
Oh yeah.
In general, hacking is super flexible. It's extremely adaptive. It can do almost anything in the moment if you get the right role. However, there are a few restrictions on it to prevent it from outright replacing every other rule in the game. A specialized program like the one I mentioned for creating hazard areas of noise, a specialized program will usually be easier to do, easier to apply, and has more opportunity for you to add additional effects or to make it even worse than what hacking can do on its own. In general, for that reason, for doing combat or directly resolving situations, other programs are going to be probably more effective and easier to use than just brute force hacking it. Now, we had a lot of variability that we've talked about in terms of what if I don't get the symbols I want, what if I roll too many successes. And this is all just built into hacking. There are programs that help you with hacking, like computer access programs or even specialized hacking gear that you can get, which gives you more control. For example, you can ignore one disruption over your initial needed value, so you don't take that sync damage, or you can ignore a crash if it appears, as long as it's only one. Or you could even just automatically add a switch or a chip to your result whenever you hack. So there's ways to get more reliable and more flexible at hacking. So look into that if you want to build that kind of character. Now we mentioned glitch. Glitch is sort of a general rule that we'll touch on here real quick. There are certain situations in the game where your character will start to accumulate glitch. This happens most often when, say, for example, you're being attacked while you're already down and out of sync. Instead of taking more sync damage, you'll gain glitch. And the more glitch you have, the more dangerous it is to log out, because that might actually screw up your brain. That's an entirely different test on its own. In general, for each point of glitch you have, you will grab one 12-sided Aetherium die. I probably should have had a 12-sided die near me.
I'll put one up.
Thanks. Put it in my hands in post.
No.
You grab one 12-sided die for each point of glitch you have, and you roll it along with any skill check you make, any test you make. So now this is just an extra die you roll, and the more of them you have, the scarier it's going to get. If you roll a disruption on a success symbol on this Aetherium die, you suffer 1 sync damage. If you roll a crash on your glitch die, you gain another glitch. So it just starts to accumulate. The more of it you have, the more likely you're to get more of it.
Yeah, you see how terrifying this gets real quick? Oh, these are on tests that only you decide to do it on. If a DM or a game master says, I need you to roll this, you do not roll your glitch dice on that.
Okay. Good. I had forgotten that one. Good point. Now, how do you get rid of glitch? Certain programs can remove. No, you can. You absolutely can.
You don't.
Certain programs can remove glitch. For example, if someone has the medkit program and took the right mods for it, or hacks the right mods into it, they can remove glitch along with recovering sync damage.
Yep.
And then once per scene, a scene is roughly equivalent. It's a pretty common term for a lot of role-playing games. Once per scene, you can try to do a sync roll, where you essentially roll a 10-sided test die for each health you have, and if you're successful, you can remove 1 glitch. The other way to do it is if you have a chance to sort of rest and get access to a pylon, you can re-strengthen your connection, which means you essentially kind of take a short rest, if to use D&D 5th edition terminology. And you recover 1 glitch for every 5 minutes you spend just at the pylon, just kind of resyncing your connection up and patching yourself up. But that assumes you have access to 1.
If you log out, do you remove glitch?
So I'd have to look up. So let me do that real quick. Each glitch you have when you log out, and you can either log out voluntarily, or
by voluntarily he means either you can gently log out, or you can just pull the plug.
That's bad either way.
Pulling the plug is bad. Don't do that.
Where is it? Not in that section. Good job, game. So I do not remember the exact mechanics off the top of my head, but you need to make a test when logging out for each glitch you have that could cause damage to your health. Health is your other damage track in this game, representing your actual physical well-being. If all of your health is gone, your character's actually straight up dead.
Yeah.
So scary.
And bad things can actually happen when you're losing health. Like, you might not get full up on health before you die. It could be like, you take like 3 or 4 health damage when you're logging out. You roll on a chart and you can see like, oh, I'm suddenly paralyzed in the real world.
Brain damage has happened.
Brain damage happens.
So, glitch can be scary. It could accumulate, but there are some abilities and some backgrounds which can make use of glitch. And everyone has the ability to use glitch to their advantage. Why would you do this? Well, we talked about already. We talked about already there's a lot of negatives for doing glitch, but to be honest, the success symbol on a Aetherium die is only on 4 of the 12 faces. So like we said before, to pretty much guarantee statistically taking 1 damage, you need to have 3 glitch dice. You can take 1 or 2 and most of the time probably be fine. Okay, so you can voluntarily gain glitch to improve your checks in other ways. How would you do this? For example, after rolling, you can improve your success value. You can essentially add 1 to how many successes you got by gaining a glitch. So if you're just 1 success short of hitting that target, if you needed 2 successes and you got 1, but you have like a bunch of solid effects or writers, and you just know that he's about to go down, maybe get that glitch to land the hit.
The boss fight's there, and you need to get a hit on him. You roll no successes. You go, I'll get a glitch, and the bullet just kind of goes and hits him.
It's a program. Break that program. You can also gain extra dice when making a test. You can gain a glitch to get 2 more dice. So if you maybe just want to temporarily augment your abilities and really go for it, you can get a glitch. You can also do this while hacking if you're super brave. For after you make a test, you can re-roll. Like if you don't need more dice necessarily, but you're like, okay, statistically, I should have obliterated this mook, but I somehow rolled no hits. You can say, screw that noise. I'll gain 1 glitch to re-roll 8 dice. That could potentially be worth it. And finally, which might be the most common way you would actually do this, is overclocking. Once during a round, you can overclock to gain a glitch and a CS up to the maximum CS is you can gain with this is equal to your level. So if you're level 1, you can overclock to get 1 CS by getting 1 glitch. If you're level 2, you can overclock to get up to 2 CS by getting up to 2 glitch.
So you could spend all 3 of your CS to make that gun, spend the 1 CS to shoot the gun that you just made, and then it still lasts for that 1 round.
Also really important, where I think this comes up even more than on your own turn. On average, it takes about 2 CS to attack with the majority of weapons. So you can attack twice in 1 turn by overclocking for a glitch if you really need to hammer something home. But reactions, those things I mentioned earlier, a reaction in this game, usually triggered by, say, an opponent getting out of your melee range, or a hazardous terrain appearing, or various other conditions which can trigger a reaction, only gives you 1 CS. So you're allowed to move, get out of the way, try to keep up with them. But you can overclock that reaction. You are allowed to use overclock to increase the CS you can use for that reaction. So now, if you're willing to get the glitch, you can turn your reaction into a shot, or you can use a power, or if you're willing, if your costs are low enough, you could even hack. So that's all up to your risk versus reward.
Yeah, if you're a hacker that has the specialization that says it only takes you 2 CS to hack, somebody creates a hole beneath you, you can literally get a glitch, get your second action, hack the floor back underneath you, and you're perfectly fine.
Or make a jetpack. All right. So we threw a lot of rules at you in this sort of part 3 of our character creation series. How would you want to?
Yes, you down there.
So I remember in the beginning, and the reason I want to ask this question is because it's directly going to affect me a lot when I play with you guys. So you said if I want to hack my own iconic weapon, it's a 0 DC hack.
Yep,
that's a trap. Why?
Because it's a 0 difficulty hack.
Yeah.
You still got to roll at least 1 die if you want to get any switches or chips to do something. But if you get any successes, any extra successes will do sync damage to you. So lowering the defense to 0 for the average character seems like, well, I still got to roll dice to actually get these symbols. So if my difficulty is 0, then won't any successes just automatically damage me? And the answer is yes, that is what would happen. Granted, the making your DC equal to 0 thing is optional. You treat it like normal, where it's equal to like the Pylon level. That's a purely optional thing. Why would you do it? Remember earlier how I said there are some other programs which augment hacking? For example, say you have an ability or a program that says you can add a switcher chip to any hack attempt. Doesn't say you have to roll dice.
Yeah.
So you could, when hacking,
you still have to roll to get the distortion in order to get it, but because it's over 0, I'm taking a glitch to hack my own thing, regardless of what my program says I get to add to it.
So say you have a hacking assist program, which lets you add a switch or a chip to any hacking test you make. So you can now attempt a difficulty 0 hack against your iconic program. You don't have to roll dice because your other program is already giving you a switch to add something. So you can just risk-free, no risk, no damage, add a mod of complexity 3 or less to your iconic program. But that's a combination of abilities that's not by default how a character with no particular leverage, but it's an example of how you can use other programs and the hacking rules to sort of layer effects and get potentially really strong combos.
Hacking is kind of like using a bomb to screw in a screw. It is an all-purpose thing. It's going to work for a lot of different stuff, but if you can use a program or some way of doing it otherwise is probably a better idea unless you're really good at it. And you're at that point, if you're playing a hacker, your iconic program is probably something that's going to help you hack other things.
I really do compare hacking-focused characters in the Aetherium role-playing game to traditional wizards in D&D.
They're more like sorcerers.
Whatever.
Like,
My point
I
being
just
is
wanna do
they're the
something.
spellcasters. They've got stuff that is probably going to be their main focus if they go down that route, because they're going to want a bunch of programs that other characters wouldn't necessarily care about. They're going to take specializations that give them bonuses. They're going to take optimizations to get the most out of it. And they can be extremely creative and powerful.
Our friend Dustin broke the universe.
But they're probably going to be squishy, because if they get really unlucky at one of their rolls, they're going to hurt themselves. So they probably can't take, bullets.
Yeah, actually,
very often.
Dustin hurt himself an awful lot, but he hacked himself a med kit to fix it. So
he's fine.
If only he had knocked himself out while hacking himself a med kit.
He may have done that once.
So thank you guys so much for watching. I think that's all we had.
I think that's that's
I
it
think
for
we've answered all the
hacking.
questions.
So next time we're gonna talk about meat space.
Yes, the optional set of rules for adding to your game if you want to have your adventure continue in the real world of, I think, the 26th century?
Something.
Future.
The future.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
It's one of those optional things. You don't actually have to deal with it. A lot of times it's just to give you bonuses, or give you disadvantages in the Aetherium. So yeah, it's complex, but not quite complex. It's just something is optional.
And we'll talk about that optional bit of character creation next time on Quantum Beer Break. I've been Jacob.
I'm James.
I'm Matt.
And that's it. Game off.
Game off.